Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and dreamer, I stand before you today not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who has lived through challenges, faced obstacles, and discovered the true power of perseverance. I want to talk to you about something that we all face in our lives, something that sneaks up on us when we least expect it, holding us back from reaching our full potential. It's called laziness. Laziness is that voice inside us that tells us, you don't have to do it now. It's the feeling of comfort in doing nothing, the allure of the easy way out. It's so easy to get caught up in it because it feels good in the moment. But let me tell you something, laziness is the thief of your dreams. It robs you of opportunities, of progress, and of the satisfaction of knowing that you gave it your all. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've had days when you feel drained, when life throws curveballs and you just want to stay in bed, wrapped up in the warmth of your blankets. It's okay to rest, to recharge, but don't mistake that for letting go of your dreams. If you ever feel like giving up, remember that every single person who has achieved something great in life has faced the temptation to give up, to take the easy route. But they didn't. They fought back. They got up. And so can you. Laziness doesn't come from being tired, it comes from lack of purpose. It comes when you don't know what you're working for, when you don't know why you're putting in the effort. But when you find your why, everything changes. Your why gives you the energy, the motivation, and the strength to keep going, even when it's tough. So, my friends, ask yourself, what is your why? Is it to build something that lasts? Is it to overcome your fears and prove to yourself that you're capable of more? Or is it to inspire others with your story? Whatever it is, hold on to it tightly and let it be the fire that drives you. Laziness will never disappear overnight. But each time you make the decision to push through, to keep going, you defeated it a little more. And one day you'll realize that the person who once felt comfortable in that laziness is no longer you. You've become someone who shows up, who fights, and who is not afraid to give their all. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Take the first step today. Because the longer you wait, the further your dreams will drift away. The world is waiting for you to show up and give your best. Don't let laziness stand in your way. You have greatness inside of you. Now, it's time to let it shine. Laziness is often seen as a temporary state, something that comes and goes, and for many it feels like a harmless indulgence. We justify it by calling it taking a break or just needing some rest. But what if we reframe it? What if laziness is not just an idle moment in time, but something far more insidious, something that creeps into our lives, steals from us, and robs us of our potential? What if laziness is actually the thief of our dreams? We live in a world that constantly demands more of us. Every day is filled with a list of tasks, goals, and aspirations. Yet, despite the ever-growing pressure to achieve, laziness often finds its way into our minds, whispering that we can put things off, that we can take the easy route, that we don't need to act right now. This subtle force can lead to procrastination, inaction, and a lack of commitment. The consequences of these actions might not be immediately visible, but over time, laziness accumulates and it begins to eat away at the opportunities that once seemed within our reach. Imagine you have a goal, something you've been working towards for weeks, months, or even years. It could be a career aspiration, a personal development goal, or a dream you've been nurturing in your heart. But then one day you find yourself dragging your feet, making excuses, and telling yourself that there's always tomorrow. You begin to justify your delay, convincing yourself that you're not ready yet or that it's not the right time. This is when laziness takes root, not in an obvious way, but as a gradual erosion of your motivation. The truth is, laziness doesn't just prevent us from achieving our dreams in the moment. It creates a ripple effect that reaches into every part of our lives. It's not just about missing one opportunity, it's about missing the next one, and the one after that. Every time we choose laziness over action, we reinforce a habit of inaction that becomes harder to break. Over time, this creates a pattern of delay and procrastination that makes it increasingly difficult to reach for the things we truly want. When we allow laziness to take control, it distorts our perception of time. We begin to convince ourselves that there's always more time to act. But time is not something we can control or get back once it's gone. Every moment wasted is a moment we can never recover. Every opportunity we let slip by is a chance that will never come back in the same way. We must understand that while we may feel that laziness is a temporary comfort, it is, in fact, a long-term cost. Laziness often disguises itself in the form of distractions. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. Social media, television, video games, endless scrolling, they all pull our attention away from what really matters. We tell ourselves that these activities are harmless, even necessary for relaxation. But the truth is, they often serve as an escape from the discomfort of hard work. Instead of confronting the challenges and obstacles in front of us, we bury ourselves in the temporary pleasures that come from distractions. This escape may feel good in the short term, but in the long run, it only leaves us with regret and unfulfilled potential. We must also recognize that laziness is often a defense mechanism, a way of protecting ourselves from fear and failure. We procrastinate not because we're lazy, but because we're afraid of not succeeding. The fear of failure can paralyze us, making it easier to put off the work than to confront the possibility of not reaching our goals. Laziness in this sense is not just about being inactive, it's about avoiding the discomfort that comes with growth. It's about staying in our comfort zones and avoiding the challenge of pushing ourselves beyond what we know. But here's the thing, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. Progress is made when we step outside of familiar territory, when we push ourselves past the point of hesitation and doubt. When we allow laziness to control us, we remain stagnant, frozen in place, and unable to move forward. Our dreams don't come to us while we're lounging on the couch or avoiding the hard work. Dreams require effort, persistence, and most importantly, action. Without action, those dreams will remain just that, dreams. Laziness also feeds on our lack of clarity and focus. When we're not sure of what we want or why we want it, it's easy to let ourselves drift. We think that we have all the time in the world to figure it out. But the more we drift, the further we get from our true desires. Laziness thrives in the absence of clarity. It grows stronger when we don't have a clear vision of where we're headed or what we're working toward. It feeds on our indecision and uncertainty, convincing us that there's no rush, that it's okay to stay where we are. But the reality is, if we don't know what we want, if we don't have a strong sense of purpose driving us forward, we are at the mercy of laziness. Without a clear goal, laziness becomes a constant companion, whispering to us that there's no need to take action today, because there's no destination to reach. This is why finding your why is so important. When you know why you're doing something, when you understand the bigger picture, laziness loses its power over you. With a clear purpose, every action becomes intentional, every effort becomes meaningful, and laziness no longer holds the same sway over you. Another aspect of laziness is that it often feels like a choice we're making in the moment, but it's really an unconscious decision. When we're faced with the task of working hard or doing something uncomfortable, it's easy to choose the path of least resistance. It's easy to stay in bed, scroll through our phones, or binge watch a TV show instead of tackling the difficult task at hand. In those moments, laziness feels like a choice, and in a way it is. But it's important to recognize that it's a choice that comes with consequences. Every time we choose laziness, we're reinforcing a mindset that says, this is good enough. We're telling ourselves that mediocrity is acceptable, that we don't need to push ourselves any harder. But in reality, choosing laziness is choosing to stay small. It's choosing to remain in a state of unfulfilled potential. We have the power to break free from this cycle, but it requires us to make the conscious decision to act, even when it feels difficult. We have to break the habit of choosing comfort and replace it with the habit of action. The consequences of laziness are not always immediate, and that's why it's so dangerous. It's easy to justify one day of procrastination, one moment of inaction. But those moments add up, and over time they begin to erode the foundation of our dreams. The longer we allow laziness to take root, the harder it becomes to escape its grip. It's like a slow leak that at first doesn't seem like a big deal. But over time, that leak grows, and eventually it can cause a flood of regret and lost opportunities. So we must learn to recognize laziness for what it truly is: a thief. It steals not just our time, but also our potential, our confidence, and our ability to dream big. It robs us of the chance to become the best versions of ourselves. And the more we allow it to take hold, the more it undermines our sense of purpose and direction. The good news is that, unlike a thief, laziness can be defeated. It can be overcome with the right mindset, the right tools, and the right commitment. It requires us to take action, even when we don't feel like it. It requires us to be honest with ourselves about the impact of our choices and to recognize that every moment we waste is a moment we'll never get back. When we acknowledge that laziness is the thief of our dreams, we can start to take back control. We can start to make the conscious choice to act, to push through the discomfort, and to chase after the things that truly matter. Finding your why is more than just a motivational phrase that sounds nice in a speech or on a self-help poster. It is the foundational truth that drives everything you do, the compass that guides your actions, and the spark that ignites your determination. When you truly understand your purpose, when you know why you're doing what you're doing, laziness loses its grip and procrastination becomes harder to justify. The why is what pulls you forward when the journey gets tough, when doubt creeps in, and when you feel like giving up. It becomes the fuel that powers your motivation, even on the days when everything feels overwhelming or you'd rather avoid the hard work that lies ahead. Many people struggle to find their why. They go through life not fully understanding what drives them, and as a result, they often find themselves floating from task to task, goal to goal, without a sense of direction or fulfillment. This lack of clarity leads to confusion, frustration, and ultimately a feeling of being stuck. It's like setting off on a journey without a map or destination. Sure, you might keep moving, but you're not really going anywhere meaningful. Without a clear why, it's easy to fall into the trap of doing things simply because they're expected or because they seem like the next logical step, rather than because you are truly passionate about them. The key to unlocking your potential lies in discovering what drives you. Your why is deeply personal, and it may not be immediately clear. It might take time, reflection, and even trial and error to uncover. But once you find it, everything changes. Your actions become purposeful, your decisions become aligned with your values, and your energy shifts from simply getting by to truly striving towards something meaningful. Your why acts as a touchstone, a reminder of what's truly important to you, especially during the moments when the going gets tough. It can also serve as a filter for what to say yes to and what to say no to, because when you know your purpose, you automatically become more selective about how you spend your time and energy. Many people also confuse passion with purpose, thinking that if they don't feel an intense, burning passion for something, it must not be the right path for them. However, passion and purpose are not always the same thing. Passion can be fleeting, something that comes and goes depending on circumstances or moods. Purpose, on the other hand, is deeper. It's what gives your actions meaning and keeps you going long after the initial excitement fades. Passion might fuel the start of a journey, but purpose sustains it over the long haul. Understanding this difference is essential in overcoming laziness, because when passion wanes, purpose remains, pulling you forward. It's also crucial to realize that your why can evolve over time. As you grow and change, your purpose may shift as well. It's not a static concept, it's dynamic and fluid. This evolution is normal, and it's part of the process of personal development. Just because your why changes doesn't mean you failed or lost sight of your goals. It simply means you are evolving and becoming more in tune with who you are, what you want, and what truly matters to you. This understanding allows you to approach each new phase of your life with openness, ready to embrace the new purpose that aligns with your growth. Finding your why also requires a certain level of self-awareness. It's about tuning into what excites you, what fulfills you, and what makes you feel like you're making a difference. Often we get so caught up in the noise of external expectations, societal pressures, and the daily grind that we forget to listen to our inner voice. We look to others for validation and direction instead of looking within. But when we take the time to truly listen to ourselves, we begin to uncover the reasons behind our choices, the dreams that we might have pushed aside or ignored in favor of more practical or socially acceptable goals. Your why might be related to your career, but it could also be about something completely different, like making a positive impact on your community, building meaningful relationships, or simply living a life that is true to your values. The important thing is that it resonates deeply with you, because that's the energy that propels you forward even when the path gets challenging. Once you find your why, everything else becomes easier to prioritize. When you're aligned with your purpose, it's easier to say no to distractions, to push past the temptation of laziness, and to dedicate the necessary time and effort to your goals. You no longer waste energy on things that don't align with your purpose because you have a clear vision of what you're working toward. You have a compass to navigate through life's challenges, helping you make decisions that reflect your deepest values. But it's not just about identifying your why and then going after it. There's a process of reinforcement that must happen over time. The more you act in alignment with your purpose, the stronger your why becomes. It's like building a muscle. At first, it may feel awkward or difficult, but with consistent practice, it becomes second nature. You'll find that your daily decisions, your habits, and your mindset begin to naturally align with your purpose, and this makes it much harder for laziness to creep in. Knowing your why also gives you a sense of clarity and confidence in your actions. When you have a clear sense of purpose, there's no need to second guess yourself or constantly wonder if you're on the right path. Even in moments of doubt or struggle, you can remind yourself of the bigger picture. You know that the work you're doing is not just about crossing off tasks from a to-do list, but about something much greater. This sense of clarity is like a shield against the distractions and challenges that try to pull you off course. Laziness thrives when there is a lack of purpose, a lack of direction. It feeds on uncertainty and indecision. But when you are crystal clear about your why, laziness has no place to take root. You no longer have to rely on fleeting motivation or external forces to keep you going. Your purpose becomes the internal drive that pushes you to take action, no matter how tough things get. The journey of discovering and connecting with your why might not always be easy, but it's worth it. It requires honesty, introspection, and the courage to make choices that align with your deepest desires, even when they don't make sense to others. However, once you know your why, you will have a solid foundation upon which to build a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and free from the paralyzing hold of laziness. Rest is essential, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking a break when it's needed. We are all human, and our bodies and minds require time to recharge. But here's where we must draw the line. Rest is not the same as giving up. Too often, we confuse the need for rest with the habit of procrastination. We allow ourselves to become complacent, thinking that one more day of rest or relaxation is all we need to recover. The problem arises when we mistake rest for a permanent escape, using it as an excuse to avoid the work or effort required to move forward. Resting is necessary for maintaining our energy, mental clarity, and overall well-being, but we cannot let it transform into inaction or laziness. True rest is restorative. It prepares us to take on the challenges ahead, to continue with our goals, and to be present when it's time to take action. The temptation to rest for longer than necessary is often a form of procrastination, a way to delay discomfort or the hard work required to reach our dreams. This can lead to stagnation, a slow but steady erosion of motivation, and before we know it, we're caught in a cycle of inaction, using rest as an excuse. The first step in differentiating rest from laziness is understanding that rest has a purpose. When we rest, we take a step back to recuperate, recharge, and reflect. This enables us to return to our work with renewed focus and energy. Rest is an investment in our future productivity. However, the moment rest transitions into avoidance or complacency, we find ourselves delaying the very things that are essential for our growth. It's no longer about rejuvenation, it's about avoiding the discomfort of action. Taking breaks when needed doesn't mean abandoning your goals. It's about listening to your body and mind when they signal the need for a pause, but understanding that once you've rested, it's time to get back to work. There is no shame in rest, but there is danger in using it as an excuse to delay the inevitable. Time keeps moving forward whether we're resting or not, and while rest is important, action is irreplaceable. Without action, no matter how much we rest, we won't make progress, and the dreams we have will remain just that, dreams. The world around us often glorifies the idea of taking it easy, telling us that it's okay to slow down or to take a back seat. And yes, there are moments in life when slowing down is necessary. But in those moments of rest, we must remind ourselves of our commitments and goals. Rest is a brief interlude in a larger symphony of effort. It's like a brief pause between two pieces of music. The pause allows for reflection, but the music plays on. When we let the pause drag on too long, we risk missing out on the music itself. Every goal, every dream requires effort. Whether it's achieving a personal milestone, pursuing a career, or striving for self-improvement, there's no way around it. The work must be done. Yet, so many of us find ourselves trapped in the cycle of wanting to rest longer, not realizing that we're allowing laziness to slip in under the guise of relaxation. It becomes easy to tell ourselves that we'll just work tomorrow, or that we deserve to take it easy today. Before long, this turns into an unconscious habit of putting things off, hoping for the perfect moment to take action, a moment that never truly comes. Another reason rest can sometimes turn into avoidance is the fear of failure. It's easier to avoid working on something than to risk putting in effort only to fall short of our own expectations. This fear keeps us paralyzed, and when we're paralyzed, we don't act. We put off the work, believing that a break will help us regain the strength to face the task. But in reality, rest can only help if it's followed by the courage to take action. Without that action, all the rest in the world won't lead to any meaningful results. The key is balance. We need to learn how to rest effectively, knowing when to step back and knowing when it's time to push forward. Rest should not be a form of escape, nor should it become a cycle of procrastination. Instead, it should be a tool to enable us to perform at our best when the time comes to act. When we rest with purpose, we return to our work reinvigorated, with fresh ideas and a clear mind. But if we use rest as an excuse for avoiding action, we are only postponing the success that we desire. In order to break free from this cycle, we must embrace the uncomfortable truth that no amount of rest will substitute for the work we need to do. There is no easy way to success, no shortcut to achieving our dreams. Success requires effort, consistency, and the courage to keep moving forward even when we don't feel like it. Rest is a part of that journey, but it is only one piece of the puzzle. We cannot afford to let the lure of rest turn into a permanent distraction. When we recognize the difference between rest and laziness, we begin to approach our goals with more discipline and self-awareness. We know that it's okay to pause and recharge, but we also understand the importance of getting back to work with purpose. Every time we face that moment of hesitation, we can remind ourselves that rest is for restoration, but action is for progress. Only when we balance both taking time to rest when needed and taking action when required can we move forward with purpose and make meaningful progress toward our dreams. Overcoming laziness is not an overnight task, nor is it something that happens by chance. It requires consistent effort and determination to break the cycle of procrastination and inactivity. While many might believe that the solution to laziness is a sudden burst of motivation or an external force that pushes us to act, the truth is that sustained effort is what will ultimately lead to change. The key to overcoming laziness is building habits, cultivating discipline, and learning how to stay committed even when motivation wanes. The first step in overcoming laziness is to understand that it is often a product of poor habits. Over time, we develop routines that allow us to avoid work and stay in a state of comfort. These habits form gradually, often without us realizing it. We might start by skipping a task here or postponing a responsibility there, and before long, these small moments of avoidance accumulate into a pattern of inaction. The challenge then becomes not just forcing ourselves to act in the moment, but reversing the pattern of behavior we've built up over time. This is where consistent effort comes into play. We must consciously choose to break free from these habits and replace them with healthier ones. Consistency is key because change doesn't happen in one grand gesture. It happens through the small, seemingly insignificant actions that we take every day. We must develop the discipline to show up, even when we don't feel like it, and do the work even when the motivation isn't there. In the beginning, this might feel uncomfortable or unnatural. We may struggle to push through the resistance we feel, but with time it becomes easier. The more we practice discipline, the more it becomes a part of who we are. It becomes second nature to work even when we don't feel like it, and soon enough we begin to see results from our efforts. One of the reasons laziness is so difficult to overcome is because of the immediate gratification that it offers. It's easy to stay in our comfort zone, to avoid work, and to indulge in distractions because they give us a sense of pleasure and relief in the short term. We might watch a movie, scroll through social media, or take a nap instead of doing the work we know we should. These activities provide instant rewards, whereas working toward our goals may take time and effort before we see any results. The key to overcoming laziness lies in shifting our focus from the short-term pleasure of avoidance to the long-term reward of achievement. When we remind ourselves that the effort we put in now will pay off in the future, it becomes easier to push through the temporary discomfort of hard work. Another important factor in overcoming laziness is accountability. It's easy to put things off when there is no one to hold us responsible. But when we make ourselves accountable to others, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or even a mentor, we are more likely to follow through with our commitments. Accountability creates a sense of external pressure that can motivate us to act even when we don't feel like it. This external pressure can be a powerful tool in overcoming laziness, as it forces us to take action and stay on track. Knowing that someone else is expecting us to do something can be the nudge we need to overcome our procrastination. It's important to set clear, achievable goals. One of the reasons people fall victim to laziness is because they don't have a clear sense of direction. Without specific goals, it's easy to feel lost or unsure of where to begin, which can lead to inaction. When we set clear, actionable goals, we give ourselves something concrete to work toward. These goals act as a roadmap, providing us with a clear path to follow and helping us stay focused. The key is to break down larger, overwhelming tasks into smaller, manageable steps. When we take small actions toward our goals every day, we build momentum, and this momentum can carry us through moments of laziness or hesitation. Equally important is the ability to forgive ourselves when we slip up. Overcoming laziness is a process, and it's inevitable that we will face setbacks along the way. We may have days when we fall into old patterns of procrastination, or we may feel like we're not making as much progress as we would like. In these moments, it's crucial to be kind to ourselves. Beating ourselves up for not being productive will only make it harder to get back on track. Instead, we must acknowledge our mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. Perfection is not the goal, progress is. Overcoming laziness requires a shift in mindset. We must reframe our thinking to see hard work not as a burden, but as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. When we view effort as something that will contribute to our personal development, it becomes easier to embrace it. Instead of focusing on how much we dislike a particular task or how hard it seems, we must focus on the benefits and growth that will come from completing it. By adopting a mindset that values effort and perseverance, we are better equipped to push through laziness and make progress toward our goals. The key to overcoming laziness is consistency, accountability, and mindset. It's about building habits that support our goals, cultivating discipline to show up every day, and remembering that the effort we put in now will pay off in the future. The road to overcoming laziness may not always be smooth, but with sustained effort and determination, we can break free from the cycle of procrastination and create the lives we desire. Laziness is not merely the absence of action, it is the result of a mindset that prevents us from realizing the true value of effort. We live in a society that often celebrates instant gratification, convenience, and shortcuts, all of which can lead to the tendency to seek easy solutions rather than investing time and energy into meaningful work. This societal inclination toward comfort, however, can perpetuate laziness and delay the fulfillment of our potential. If we want to break free from this cycle, it's essential to recognize that true success requires more than the desire for comfort. It requires a commitment to embracing discomfort, persistence, and deliberate action. The first step in overcoming laziness is recognizing the relationship between mindset and behavior. Laziness begins in the mind. It is rooted in the belief that tasks are difficult, unpleasant, or unworthy of effort. It's the mental block that convinces us that the work ahead is too overwhelming or too tedious. This mindset, once adopted, leads to procrastination, avoidance, and a pattern of non-action. It's crucial to understand that our perceptions shape our reality. If we perceive a task as too hard or too unpleasant to tackle, we will inevitably find ways to avoid it. But the key to breaking the cycle is to challenge these limiting beliefs. Rather than seeing a task as something to dread, we must learn to see it as an opportunity for growth or an important step toward achieving something significant. When we change our perception, we change the way we approach the task, and the process becomes less intimidating. Another critical element in overcoming laziness is creating an environment that fosters productivity. It's easy to fall into patterns of procrastination when we are surrounded by distractions or when our workspace is disorganized and chaotic. To combat this, we need to create a space that supports focus and encourages work. This doesn't mean having a perfectly tidy room or a pristine desk, but rather it involves removing distractions that make it harder to concentrate. We can limit our access to social media, silence unnecessary notifications, and declutter our physical surroundings. When our environment is organized and distraction-free, it's much easier to stay focused and productive. The act of organizing our space itself can be empowering, as it reflects the internal commitment we are making to be more disciplined and intentional with our time. Discipline is another crucial factor in overcoming laziness. While motivation may come and go, discipline is what keeps us going even when motivation wanes. There will be times when we don't feel like working or when we're tempted to put things off, but it's in those moments that discipline matters most. Building discipline requires establishing routines and committing to actions even when we don't feel like it. This is where the idea of creating habits becomes essential. When we turn tasks into habits, they no longer require excessive mental energy to begin. Instead of debating whether or not we should work, we simply do it because it's become a regular part of our routine. Habits are the foundation of long-term success because they provide structure, minimize the need for decision-making, and reduce the chances of procrastination. One powerful tool in overcoming laziness is setting small, achievable goals. The bigger picture can sometimes be overwhelming, and the idea of tackling a massive project or goal can cause us to freeze or avoid the task altogether. But when we break that large goal down into smaller, more manageable tasks, it becomes less intimidating. By focusing on completing one small task at a time, we build momentum. The sense of accomplishment that comes from completing a small task motivates us to keep going. Over time, these small victories add up to significant progress. By setting clear, achievable goals, we make the work feel less daunting, and the motivation to continue flows naturally. In addition to setting small goals, it's important to celebrate progress. When we acknowledge our accomplishments, no matter how small, we reinforce positive behavior and encourage further progress. Too often, we focus only on the big picture and overlook the small steps we've taken toward our goals. This can lead to feelings of discouragement or frustration. Celebrating our progress along the way provides the positive reinforcement needed to stay on track. It reminds us that every step forward, no matter how minor, is a victory in itself. This positive reinforcement creates a cycle of motivation, where each success builds on the last, propelling us toward our ultimate goal. Another aspect of overcoming laziness is learning to manage time effectively. Time management is a skill that requires both practice and intention. It's easy to waste time when we lack a plan or a sense of urgency. However, when we manage our time wisely, we can allocate our energy toward meaningful work rather than wasting it on trivial tasks. A helpful approach is to prioritize tasks based on their importance and deadlines. By focusing on high-priority tasks first, we ensure that we are making the most of our time and not putting off essential work. Time management techniques such as the Pomodoro technique, working in focused intervals with short breaks, can also be helpful in maintaining productivity without feeling overwhelmed. A key component in overcoming laziness is the realization that discomfort is often a sign of growth. We may resist taking action because we fear failure, rejection, or the discomfort that comes with hard work. But it's important to understand that growth happens when we push ourselves beyond our comfort zone. The tasks that seem difficult or challenging are often the very ones that will lead to personal and professional development. When we avoid discomfort, we avoid the growth that comes with it. Instead of running from hard work, we must learn